Bobson says, your vegan videos really got me thinking about that kind of lifestyle, but don't you think the bigger problem is animal cruelty? Ask Bobson. So, animal cruelty is an ethical concern. Some people give a shit about it, some people don't. It's technically a matter of opinion. But human beings have a moral compass, or the fact that we even discuss ethics means that we have some sense of morality, like the difference between good and bad, right and wrong. That's why we have a justice system. So, yeah, that is a big underlying problem. And if you've watched my vegan videos, I speak about how taking a stance against subjugating, slaughtering, consuming animals is not a new idea. It's actually over 3,000 years old. The ancient Greeks were talking about it. Who knows how long? I said recorded history because that's actually recorded, but Chinese religions, Indian religions that have vegetarianism at their core are ancient. So could very well be several thousand years old. The overarching problem, what was the term you used? The bigger problem? Because of environmentalism and the size of human civilization. I'm not talking about countries, I'm talking about worldwide. Just the fact that we have almost 8 billion people on Earth right now. If all those people, or a majority of those people, are eating animals, like meat is a regular part of their diet, or even dairy, that is simply not sustainable for the planet. The planet can't sustain that. So in politics, in science, environmentalism, you hear people talking constantly that we have to stop fossil fuels, we have to develop clean energy, we have to stop littering. But in reality, animal husbandry, animal agriculture plays more of a role. Can you go mute that for me? Animal agriculture plays more of a role in deforestation, pollution, carbon footprint than all of those things. It's the #1 cause of climate change, deforestation, loss of life, loss of natural habitat, wildlife. I would say that's kind of the biggest problem right now. That's what's driving me to do vegan content. That's why I changed my focus to it and all that. The reason you don't hear about this very much is because our leaders in the scientific community are not vegan, and it's not even about veganism. Like, veganism is a lifestyle, it's a philosophy. A lot of people use the term plant-based instead because it just means, plant-based lifestyle. I don't consume animals, or I don't use animals, I don't fund animal agriculture. For environmental reasons, it doesn't necessarily have to be about ethics for you. It can be purely scientific. And that makes total sense on paper. And it's proven by the scientific method as well. It's just that environmental impact of our practices is not sustainable, and it's quickly resulting in the extinction of life on Earth. We're living in the midst of the most rapid mass extinction in the history of this planet as far as we can see. Using geological evidence. There have been mass extinctions in the past, but none of them happening as rapidly as it is right now. And obviously humans are a catalyst to both climate change and mass extinction. Arguably the biggest reason for it. We have the largest impact. We have a parasitic relationship with this planet, which is really, really sad. It doesn't have to be that way. So I would say that the larger problem is environmental. Ethics aside, because environmentalism is not emotional. It's not a matter of opinion. It's a matter of science and fact. And that really, we shouldn't even be discussing it politically. Should we cut down on animal agriculture? Should we eat less meat? Should we have fewer factory farms? Should we stop overfishing the oceans? Obviously we should, because if we don't, we're all going to die. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Life is quite fragile on this planet, and probably everywhere else too. We can either give life and sustain life as a species, or we can take it away and we can destroy it. And if we destroy life in the ocean, which is happening very quickly, everything else will follow. Eating moderate amounts of meat should not be bad for your health, says Bob Son. You're certainly going to be healthier if you eat moderate levels of meat as opposed to eating meat every day. In the US, where I'm from, in the 21st century, it is very common for people to eat meat or dairy every day. Sometimes a part of every meal. It's in most of the foods available at stores and restaurants. And that is a very recent phenomenon that happened when meat consumption or meat or animal products became affordable for everybody. And that happened with the advent of factory farming, which was just the past few decades in first world countries. So that's what's causing explosive disease, primarily cardiovascular disease, which kills 1 in 4 Americans every year. It's direct from the Center for Disease Control. The U.S. eats the most meat out of every country. There are countless correlations between meat consumption and death. Disease of all varieties, diet-related. We also know scientifically that you don't need meat to be healthy or to survive, which is a new one for some people. But I would say, based on all the learning I've done and all the research I've done, that anytime you eat meat, it's bad for you. Because fundamentally, we're not meat eaters. Human beings are not meat eaters. Homo sapiens are not. We're primates. We're apes. Come from the ape family, where almost all of them are herbivorous in nature, including us. Our digestive systems are not indicative of a herbivorous animal, or excuse me, of a carnivorous or even omnivorous animal. We have the digestive tract of an herbivorous animal. That's why we can digest most of the plants in the kingdom. Hypothetically, we could make meat with 3D printers in the future. Would you eat it? Well, test tube meat, as they call it, or lab meat, is already a thing. You can already buy it and eat it. No, I would not eat that. And I would not eat 3D printed meat either. And I would caution you to be very careful about eating that kind of shit because it's very unnatural. I don't want to get too much into the nutrition argument for why meat kills you, but if you research it yourself, I'm sure you'll find plenty of compelling evidence. Landry's Media asks, are people trying to put vegans against each other? He's referring to the avocado argument. It's more so that the mainstream media is trying to knock the vegan movement down a peg because it's threatening. Not only is it threatening to people's morals and ethics, which, you know, makes them uncomfortable and defensive right away, it's also very threatening to existing juggernaut industries like the meat and dairy industries. There's propaganda campaigns against almond milk, primarily is what you'll see on the TVs, because almond milk is just gouging dairy farms. Just like, yeah! They can't handle it. You go to the stores right now, the vegan products like vegan plant-based butters and plant milks, they're outselling the dairy where I live right now. They're sold out. Sold out. So when these big corporate execs at the head of these dairy industries look at those sales reports, those little spreadsheets, they got their clipboards, and they're like, how much money did we make this year? And they see that their profits are down. The first place they point the finger is the vegan trend. So veganism is most prominent amongst millennials, and now even more than them, Generation Z. So it's catching on with the young folks because they're more malleable, they're less set in their ways, and they're more open to change. And so you get attacks from older generations like the avocado slander, where they're saying, vegans, you're living in a make-believe world. Everything is centered around cruelty. There's no escaping it. It's the circle of life. I mean, these are the age-old anti-vegan arguments that we hear over and over again. This time they're trying to take one of the millennials' most prized food sources, avocado, and they like to, avocado toast this, avocado toast that. Everyone's always jerking themselves off about avocado toast because it's so popular, and all the trendy restaurants have it on the menu. So avocado was a good target to target the vegans and, knock them down a peg. And it just doesn't work because it's a weak argument like all the other weak arguments. Look, guys, when you have the facts, the truth, science on your side, it's easy to win arguments. You don't even have to try. You know what I'm saying? So obviously avocados are plant-based foods. Obviously avocados are vegan. The practice of migrant beekeeping, I mean, this is basically making insects into slaves. Some of the most benevolent, helpful insects on the planet, if not the most important. For give you an idea, honeybees and bumblebees and all the pollinators are way more important to life on Earth than human beings have ever been or ever will be. You know what I'm saying? If we lose bees, then most of the animal kingdom is severely affected by that. If we lose human beings, basically all of the species on Earth will benefit from the loss of humanity. So we shouldn't even be having discussion about whether or not avocados are vegan, and we should be coming up with solutions for sustainable farming methods instead of saying, well, actually our farming methods for this crop are garbage, therefore you're not vegan. It's just a weak, baseless argument, dude. Landry says, I only hear you speak on vegan foods in particular. Do you also have vegan soaps and other vegan specific products that people may not think about? Look, I don't buy animal products. A lot of people would consider that extreme or radical or whatever. There's a spectrum and I'm on the far right or the far left or whatever you want to call it for the animal cruelty argument. But I just don't fund any industries that subjugate, abuse, and take advantage of animals. Because I don't believe that human beings are superior to animals. I believe we are animals. And that I don't treat any other species in a way that I would not like to be treated myself. That's what it means to be vegan, more or less. It's like I said, it's a philosophy. So yeah, if like soap has beeswax in it, I'm not going to buy it because I know that those bees were robbed and abused and treated like property. I love bees the same way I love all the other species. And I got a soft spot for bees. Every time I see a dehydrated bee or a sick bee, I try to resuscitate him because I'm like, oh, gotta do my part. You know, this bee probably accidentally rolled up in some pesticide that some asshole sprayed on his lawn or something, you know? Yeah, dude, the disrespect that humans put towards bees in particular is really bad. Honey, dude, honey is savage. You allow bees to work their asses off. I mean, these are some of the most hard-working animals in the kingdom. Bees. All they care about is building a home, keeping their young and their queen safe, and just working. They work themselves to the bone. You think you work hard? Look at how hard the bee works. Okay, so they work all year collecting pollen, which is their treasured resource that they turn into food for their babies and their colony so that they can procreate and they can subsist as a species. You know what the human does? He's like, hey, thanks for all that hard work, buddy. They come over there and they just steal that shit. They rob them blind and like, go do it again. That's what honey is. That's why you shouldn't fund that shit. It's cruel. It's very, very cruel. Here we go. At least this way I can censor it so you don't send me pornos. You think that's funny, do you? Alright, this is what Bob wanted me to see. When a carnist tries to put together an argument against veganism, ancestors, lions, plants have feelings, bacon, no. Pretty much. Pretty much. Some of them are a little... I mean, look, it's not like you're a carnist, which basically is somebody who advocates the consumption of animals, and you're automatically a dumb fuck. It's just that you don't have the facts on your side, so you're not going to win any arguments with anyone that knows how to use facts, or does research, or believes in science. You know what I'm saying?